All right, so welcome back to Nucleus Labs. Today we are going to go over the Bambu Lab Studio. So this is the Bambu Lab Studio where we can import models, slice the models, edit the models before we send them to the printer. So this is going to be a very basic tutorial, like super basic tutorial for beginners who just got a Bambu Lab printer and want to do their first print using the Bambu Lab Studio. The way I'm going to be doing the prints here is through Wi-Fi. So make sure your printer's on, first of all, and make sure it's connected. Make sure it's online. You will know that your printer's online because you're able to monitor it through the Bambu Lab. Here we go, through the Bambu Lab Studio. So if you can't, it's going to say offline. If you can monitor it, you can see the camera. It is online. Also, you can tell it's online because this Wi-Fi symbol is green. Okay, so first we are going to import a model. So to import a model, I am going to go to File, Import, and then it gives you all the different types of files that you can import here. So I'm going to click this, go to Import, and here is already where I keep all of the files that I want. So I'm going to import 3 different files because this entire, I'm going to be printing a headphone stand for my brother. So this entire stand is made up of 3 parts. So let's do the main part first, which is the stand, and let's open that. Let's do it again because I now need to import the base of the stand, and let's do it again because now I need to import the top part of the stand. Okay, so as you can see, we're getting a bunch of errors here, and that is because some stuff is on the build plate, some stuff is too close to each other, so it might break the nozzle. So not break the nozzle, but break the model while the nozzle is moving. So let's go up here to where we can edit the position of the model. I'm going to move this as far as I possibly can this way. I'm going to move this down. I'm going to take this, and to save space, I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Actually, let me do 270 so that the hexagon parts are facing each other. I'm going to move this way. I'm going to move this back up here. Sorry, my bad. And move this here, and then I will also rotate this 90 degrees. So everything is kind of vertical on the build plate. I feel like I can move this a little bit more off to the side, maybe. Let's do that. So yeah, so this is the print that we're going to be printing today. So as you can see, the model is gray. That's because I have generic PLA and I have the color as gray. If I wanted to set it to red, I could go here, click OK, and the model will become red. It really just depends on what color you're doing, but today I am doing a gray color. So I have the textured PEI plate, which is this plate that you see here. This is the one that comes with the Bambu Lab P1S already. I'm using a Bambu Lab P1S 0.4 nozzle. So none of these settings are changed. None of these settings are changed, especially as soon as you connect your printer, Bambu Lab Studio should recognize your printer settings, and everything will be already auto-populated based on the printer that you have. If we look down here, we can see a warning. It says hexagon headphone stand top, which is this part here, is too close to others. There may be jumping when printing on collisions. This I'm going to leave the way it is, only because I have printed these things before and I have done the exact same setup and it has given me no problems. So I'm going to leave it exactly the way it is. And this, the way it's lined up right now should not give me any problems at all. So let me go to strength, the strength tab. I'm not going to get into wall loops or any of this stuff here, but what I do want to get into is your spare's infill density. So this is the percent of what's inside the model that is actually filled in, and I have it as grid. You can change it to a bunch of different types of things. You do rectilinear, grid, line, adaptive cubic. You could do a bunch of different types. So, but today we're going to do grid because it's just the one I usually go with, and I'm doing it at 30%. So rectilinear for internal solid infill pattern, bottom surface pattern, top surface pattern, and this is basically the finish of the top and the bottom surface. So the top and the bottom surface will be flat surfaces totally 100% infilled surfaces, but the pattern that the nozzle takes to finish that top surface, you can change through doing here, or you can do it through the bottom surface as well. Either one works. Supports, if your model does need supports, you can enable supports here, and it will automatically enable all the supports, or you can manually add supports as needed. So the normal auto supports, those are like box supports, they're rectangular supports, and the tree auto support is more like branches holding up the rest of your model. I believe the tree uses less material, so sometimes I go with tree, sometimes I go normal. It really just depends, because the normal is good for small cantilevers, the tree is good for bigger ones. But yeah, all in all, you can leave this support type the exact same. So this angle here, the angle here shows you, like for instance, like the threshold angle right now is set to 30 degrees. That value is basically saying any angle of the model that is 30 degrees or less relative to the horizontal axis needs a support. So if you have a model that has mainly 45-degree angles and you know it can print without any problems, you could change this all the way to 45 degrees and it will print with no problems because you have proved that yourself, or whatever the case may be. But you can change this to where you can limit the types of supports that you need based on your model and based on the printer's capability as well. So I'm just going to change this back to 30 because that's the stock. And I don't use any of this either. So we are going to now go to others. Bed adhesion, prime tower, flush options I really don't use. Special modes, sometimes I use. So most of the time I print by layer. On occasion, I will print by object. So by object basically means I am going to print this object, going to print this object, going to print this object. But as you can see, this one's going to give me a problem because this object is in like the track of the nozzle for the bigger object. So printing by object probably isn't the best move here. So I'm going to print by layer here. This is a warning, so it's not going to do, it more than likely won't do anything, but I'll just leave it the way it is for now. Time lapse, there's traditional and there's smooth. I'm going to show you the difference between the two now. And fuzzy skin doesn't really matter that much. So now that we went over everything that is in the prepare tab, let's go to the preview tab. Okay, so before we go into the preview tab, let's go ahead and slice this plate by clicking slice plate up here. There are different types of, there's only two options here, slice all, slice plate. Slicing the plate means you slice everything that is on the plate, which is usually what you're printing. So I just click slice plate. It's going to generate the G code that is in the slicer. And then once it's done, it will automatically take us to the preview tab, which is right here. So let me exit out of this. So as you can see, right now, our model print time is 9 hours and 26 minutes. By using this here, we can see exactly each layer that it's printing, even with the infill that we used. So I used a grid infill. It's kind of hard to see here, but you can kind of, if we zoom in, you can kind of see the grid right here. You can see the grid in here, so you can change that different type of infill. I might go with a different type of infill rather than the grid, but let's just say for the video's sake, let's just keep it as the grid for now. We can set this all the way back up to the finished model. And also, you can look at the top pattern. You see how it's just straight lines? That's because over here, for, is it quality or is it support? Maybe strength. Yeah, so over here the top surface pattern is monotonic. And if we go back to the preview, you can see that the top surface pattern is exactly monotonic, and so is the bottom. So really on the preview tab, there's not much to do. Really just print plate, print time, the total time that it's going to probably take to print, and just the print plate button, which takes you to, which loads this print onto the printer. But first, let's go to device. So here is my printer, or I guess I should say like the control center for the printer. So here you can control everything about the printer. You can turn on and off the lamp. My Wi-Fi is a little slow, so sometimes it's a little laggy, but you can turn the lamp back on. But what we're gonna do first is we're gonna prep the printer. So usually for PLA I have the nozzle at 220 degrees. I'm gonna turn that on. And for the bed, I usually have it at 55 degrees. I'm gonna turn that on. So you can see that this is heating up. The bed is also gonna start to heat up. I don't know why that went back. There we go. You can manually move the bed here. You can manually move the extruder through here. Everything that is on the D-pad on the Bambu Lab P1S manually, you can do through here or through your Bambu Handy app, which I will show later in this video as well. Micro SD card, if you're printing off the SD card, you can do calibrations for your printer. It shows you exactly what the calibration is used for and how to do a manual calibration if needed. But you're going to see in a bit that when we print, the calibration is just automatic with the printer. You can see that some filament is already starting to come out because the nozzle is heating. And yeah, this is pretty much it with the Bambu Lab Studio. So let's get to our first print. So now we're going to do the first print. Just to be sure, I'm going to go to device. I'm going to check that the temperatures are proper. And then now that I know it's proper, there's some filament in here that I'm going to have to go manually take out. But now that I know that everything is proper, what I'm going to do, I am going to go to the preview tab. I'm going to go to print plates. So now it shows you exactly what's about to be printed, just to make sure all of this isn't that close to each other. It might just be the angle. Yeah, everything should be good. So once again, I'm going to print plate, 9 hours, 32 minutes. It's going to show the amount of material that is needed for this. You can hit refresh to change the printer, but right here is where you really want to check these boxes depending on what you want. So bed leveling, of course, who wouldn't want the bed leveled? You're going to need this. This is going to do the automatic bed leveling, the shake calibration, anything that could be disruptive to the printer is going to measure it out beforehand and adjust for that margin of error. The time lapse, this just makes sure that the camera's on, it's recording a time lapse, and that you'll be able to eventually find it in over here. In the micro SD card, you go to time lapse and you'll find all of your time lapses here as long as you check that you want a time lapse. So once again, let's go to preview, print plate. There are also a bunch of other options here. Print plate, print all, send all. You can send it to the printer without printing. You can send everything to the printer without printing. I don't really use export plate sliced file or export all sliced file. Print all is just prints everything. But once again, you want to print what's on the plate. So I usually just do print plate. So print plate, everything is checked off. And now we're going to send it to the printer and we'll see what the final product looks like. All right, so let's take a look at the parts that were actually made by the printer. This is the top where the headphones will be sitting. You can see it's curved, so the headphones have a nice rest on it. And then I'm really pleased with how this came out. Very smooth on each side. The hexagons look perfect. If you're particular about the PEI plate, sometimes it does leave like a little pattern here that's like the textured plate, while the top does not, because the top is done by the nozzle. If you're particular about that stuff, it doesn't really, it would matter to you, so you would just change the plate, but it doesn't matter to me, so I'm not changing the plate. Also, I really like the PEI plate because once the plate cooled, these parts slid off the plate like butter. I remember I would have to take scrapers and scrapers and scrapers to my Ender 3 just to get the part off of the bed. And these came out nicely. I have never taken the bed out of the printer. Like I can just kind of yank it a little bit and just comes right off. But this is the base. Very pleased with how the base came out. It's a little bit heavy, which I'm okay with because this needs to hold all the weight of everything that's being put on it. Yeah, very pleased with it. And then obviously this is the arm. Very pleased with how the arm came out. There is a little bit of stringing, but there is nothing like, no like fatal flaw in here that would make me want to reprint this. So in terms of part-to-part assembly, everything assembles pretty well. You have the base, this slides on. There's a little bit of wiggle room, which is okay, but nothing that would cause a reprint, nothing that super glue can't fix once it's finally assembled. The top part kind of just sits on here, which is the curved part here, kind of just sits on here so the headphones can hang. But I'm super, super happy with everything that this printer just did. Printed everything super smooth, all the geometry looks very, very, very pristine. Super happy with the purchase of the Bambu Lab P1S. And this Bambu Lab filament that I purchased with the printer is probably some of the best PLA that I've used. Usually I use Hatchbox, which is still what I mainly use because it is so readily available through Amazon. Bambu Lab filament, you got to order it through Bambu Lab. But so I don't really order much through Bambu Lab because it's longer shipping time. Sometimes it's harder to track rather than just opening up my Amazon app and tracking it through there. But super duper pleased with the purchase of the Bambu Lab P1S. Everything with the Bambu Lab Studio, being able to monitor it on my phone, turn it off on my phone, control the lights, being able to do time lapse. Everything this printer can do is super, super, super awesome. Thank you for watching this video. Once again, this whole YouTube thing is new to me. I am barely becoming comfortable talking on camera, being on camera. That's why I don't like showing my face much, but I'll get comfortable with it. Especially as the content becomes better and better and better. I'm editing everything myself, printing everything myself, doing everything myself. And I'm just trying to make the best content possible with what I have. And eventually it'll get better. Obviously I'm a newbie, I'm a beginner at this, but I really appreciate everyone who's watching. And if you can, like, comment, subscribe. Constructive criticism is super, super helpful. So please leave any feedback that you possibly have, whether it be modeling tips, software tips, printing tips, or even talking on camera, being on camera tips. Anything that you can give me is super useful. Thank you for watching.